Hey Jared, thanks so much for joining the show today. Can you give our listeners today a little bit about what you're up to in the field of UX?
Yeah, so my work is around helping organizations deliver better products and services. So I'm very much focused on sort of strategy of building UX teams, of staffing those teams, of figuring out what to do with those teams, of helping the rest of the organization understand how to best take advantage of those teams. So that's my work.
Great, thanks for that background. And I know you're very experienced in the field. I think that's a great topic for us to dive into as we hire and we talk to candidates every day. It's a field that's exploding in certain ways, and it's a field where we talk to companies that have a lot of trouble hiring. So let's definitely explore this topic. One of the areas I'd like to begin is that process and the mindset of even getting ready to hire and build a UX team. What are your thoughts on how that process should begin?
Yeah, so the a lot of people don't spend enough prep work thinking about hiring, right? They just assume, well, I'll wait till I have an open position and then I'll just quickly dash off a job ad. Or actually um the uh one of the more amusing things I hear about is that they just go searching for somebody else's job ad that feels like it's similar, and they just change the name of the position and the location and leave the rest of the ad in place. And we actually found in one project we were doing that um, uh, we found 5 different ads for a designer from 5 different companies that all had the same typos in them. uh, uh, so it was very clear
Literal
that
copy paste. Yeah.
yeah, people were very much copying and pasting ads. And the uh and this is probably the most ineffective way to hire, in that first, one of the key things is, um if people shouldn't be hiring from job ads, right? I mean, I say this, we have a job board and people post ads on them, but the reality is that you're going to always be better off hiring through your network. So if you're thinking that you're going to be hiring, you should be going out and seeing who's doing good work and getting to know them and developing a relationship with them. And then when you're ready to hire, reach out to those individuals and say, hey, we've got a position and I think you'd be perfect for it. And know what you want them to do. So this is the other thing that I see that uh, a lot of folks who are hiring UX professionals struggle with, which is they they don't do any of the work up front that really needs to be done.
Yeah.
First thing you should do is uh, the first thing we do with our clients is we write a thank you note, and and the thank you note is to our future hire on their first year anniversary.
Nice.
And so the idea is that this new hire will have been with us for a year, and they will have been awesome, because why would we hire somebody who wouldn't? And we're going to thank them for all the amazing, awesome things that they did in that year. But more importantly, we're going to connect those things to actual outcomes that were important to us. That you came in and you rolled up your sleeves and you got going on our design system, and within a few months you'd had a complete inventory of the components, and you've started working with the different product teams to get them psyched about using the design system, and you figured out a pilot to run with. And you know in your first year, we got several pilots and products out using the new components and design system. And because you did that, uh, we are now seeing an increase in sales. We're seeing people buying more of our product suites. You know, and that's the idea, is to be able to talk about the behaviors that really made a difference in that first year and the outcomes that came from those behaviors. And that thank you note, which should probably be about, half a page to a page, becomes sort of like a rough sketch of what the position looks like. And you can shop it around to everybody who would work with this candidate and everybody who's going to be on the hiring team and saying, this is who I think we need to hire. What do you think? And get feedback. One of the big mistakes that we see folks make is that there's a team of people in charge of hiring these new candidates. They do all the interviewing and
Yeah.
thing, and they don't know what the position is. They don't know what the person's supposed to accomplish. They don't know what we're hiring for. It's just, well, we're hiring a designer. Okay. And so everybody measures the designers on this sort of imaginary ideal designer scale
Yeah.
that isn't really what you need. What you need is, you don't need an ideal designer. You need someone who can come in and do the work you need done. So how do you do the work you need done? What is that work? And that's where we start. And then we blow that out into a much more rigorous definition. And we put together an assessment scale that measures how well someone demonstrates that they have done those things before. Because what we want to do is get into hiring process looking for comparable evidence, right? Comparable experience.
Not the first rodeo. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if we're hiring someone to help us build our design system out, why would we hire someone who doesn't know anything about building out a design system? Why would we hire someone who's never done it before? We have an army full of people in our organization of people who've never done it before. Why would we hire for that? If we're going to hire, we want someone who's done it before. So that's the important thing here is how do we establish what we're looking for and what are the specifics?
Well,
And that's the thing that we've been working with teams on to help them hire, and it makes hiring so much easier.
one of the questions that comes to mind is where and how should UX be managed? I come across a lot of organizations. Sometimes they report to marketing, sometimes they report to product, sometimes they report to UX, sometimes they report to nobody. How should a company approach that challenge of where does this fit in the org and how should they be built in the broader org chart?
Well, I'd be curious about the report to nobody thing, because that usually doesn't happen. They've just gone rogue.
Yeah, it's out there.
They're nobody knows they exist. They get paid in chickens.
Yeah, like the Office Space stapler guy. He's just
The
there.
Office Space Neighbor guy. They're just in the basement. Nobody
Yeah,
knows they're there. The reality is, it doesn't matter where they report, right? Ideally, they report to into an organization that is going to take the most advantage of their work, and particularly research, right? Because the thing that is most important in a UX team is the research that it produces, and and that research needs to inform important decisions throughout the organization. So the ideal position is that there's the least amount of distance between the research and the people making the decisions, so that they have that information available to them. But the more important thing is that whoever is running the UX team is reporting to a person who understands how to help that UX team deliver the best value to the organization. And it doesn't matter what department they're in. It's whoever really sort of understands that this is how this is going to work. Where you see UX teams that struggle are ones where the rest of the organization doesn't know why they're there.
right.
And they don't know how to use them, and they don't know what to do. And so the best place to be is in the place where people understand why they are hiring you and paying you and funding you. And and what value you bring to the organization, and will support that and make sure that the organization as a whole is taking the best advantage of that resource. I mean, that's what a UX strategy is. A UX strategy is all of the experience, knowledge, capabilities, resources, people, tools, um, capabilities that uh, that can be used to help the organization achieve its goals specific to UX. So it usually manifests itself in somehow building the best design products and services. But it's also about feeding the organization about everything there is to know about the experience of the user, who the user is, what they're trying to do, what they find valuable, what's useful. And that affects every part of the business, right? Marketing, who might be setting the pricing for the product, need to know what's valuable about the product so they can price it relative to its value. If they underprice it, you're losing money. If they overprice it, nobody's going to buy it. So that's key. And sales needs to know what customers really want to do with the product so that they can tailor their sales pitches to talk to what's actually valuable. And finance needs to know how much this product is going to be able to bring in so that they can factor that into their projections for financial returns. And HR needs to know how many people are needed to actually make this happen, and what roles, and all those things. So all parts of the business, not just product, not just engineering, but all parts of the business are affected by a UX strategy. And so the UX leadership should be reporting into the place where they can get the most leverage across all of that, the entire business. And in
Yeah,
every business, that's going to be different because it's more based on the people and less on the specific department.
it's a good point. I think the takeaway from that is yeah, it doesn't really matter where as long as they're understood, and more importantly, they're not siloed. UX isn't in that basement that we're talking about. They actually need to be able to collaborate outside of just product, outside of just marketing. Everyone should be collaborating with design and
Right.
research. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of that's the responsibility of the UX leadership to
Yeah.
make sure that the rest of the organization is getting the full value of that team. But it's also the people who that leadership reports into to be able to support all of that.
Jared, as we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to discuss here?
Sure. I'd love to invite everybody who's watching this, and uh, all the people who aren't watching this, but probably should have, to come and join us in our Leaders of Awesomeness community. It's an
Okay.
online community for UX leaders. There's as of today, there's 24,000 members, and
Wow.
it's growing. We do online workshops and um, have discussions. It's aimed at people who are emerging leaders in their organization and want to help their UX efforts grow. That's where we focus our energy. So I'd love to invite people to that. It's called Leaders of Awesomeness. You can find a link to it on the uie.com homepage. It's it's easy to get to, and we'd love to have you.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. And it's in the title, so maybe it is awesome. We'll check it out for sure.
By definition.
By definition, it is awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show today, Jared.
Well, thanks for encouraging my behavior.